So we are here at Juncos Hollinger Racing headquarters with the driver Callum Ilott, driver of the number 77. So what are your 2022 IndyCar goals?
Obviously, it's a new team, new environment for me. So to get used to that, to come through, obviously we had a strong enough start at the beginning in St. Pete. But to build off of that and get some good points and, continue up the ranking a little bit.
Yep. Sounds about. So how cool is it to race for Juncos Hollinger Racing?
It's cool. Obviously, as a new team, it's interesting and it's a tough start. Like the last 3 races that I did at the end of last year, it was tough. But we're built from scratch. So starting like that, it's really cool to be a part of it and to make it from nothing. And, coming with a team like this over from Europe, it just makes it even more special. So I think by the time we get to the 500, it will be an amazing time.
All right. Is it hard to not have any teammates?
It is. You miss out on the data. You miss out on the video. It's very difficult not to be able to compare. And that's the toughest thing really that we have up against us this year, because, the other teams like Andretti or Ganassi, they'll have 4 or 5 drivers testing items in those sessions, and there's just me with one. And, there's no way to back anything, but it's what keeps it fun. It's more challenging, but that's what we got.
All right. So how did you like the new red tire compound in St. Pete? Is the extra speed worth how quick they fall off?
In qualifying, it was good. It was interesting to get a feel for it. Race was tough. I think the first stint, I really dropped off, and was caught a little bit off guard, by how much they dropped off. I mean, maybe if we were to go again, I wouldn't have the same effect, but it's hard because you don't get to test on them. So you go straight into the race and you don't know what you're going to get. But no, it's a trade-off. I think, it depends on the race that you're going to have. Obviously the 2-stop was the best, but, if you can make the 3-stop work, you could have a good race as well.
Why do you think so many F1 drivers are coming to try IndyCar?
It's a good question. Obviously, there is a limited opportunity in Europe. Formula One is the only, should we say, professional single-seater championship in Europe, because F2 and F3 you normally have to bring a budget for. So when that time in F1 is, say, over, or in my case, never achieved, you want to look for other avenues. So the only other place you can go to really as a driver is Formula E or the endurance stuff, so the hypercar and LMP2. And I think that some drivers prefer, the endurance type, and some prefer the single-seater and being the only one going for it. And, it's such a competitive series, and with so many opportunities, so many different tracks and styles. I mean, oval racing is completely new for us as well, that I think it's just very, very appetizing. And you can always make a good career out here if you do it well. So I think that's why we all look at it as more of an opportunity now in the last 3 years, with more and more drivers, because, it's one of the best series there is.
Good idea. So, what is the biggest difference between the F1 car and the IndyCar?
Honestly, the F1 car is super fast. There's no comparing it. Obviously, with the ovals, you're pushing 240 mile an hour, and it's a very different style. But if I take the ovals out of consideration, I think you've got slightly more power in the F1 because of the hybrid system, but the downforce is just another level. So IndyCar is a very pure car, and I would describe it closer to almost go-karting or rallying, because you've seen Patos on boards, you're sliding it, you're on the limit, and that's what makes it, in a way, in my opinion, better, because the F1 is so smooth. You have to be so smooth with the tires, not to overheat it even on a quali lap. And it's raw, pure driver motorsport, and compared to engineering perfection, if you know what I mean. So there's a bit of both in that.
I can kind of hear what you mean. So have you had a chance to test at Texas before, or are you nervous for your first oval race ever?
So we tested, I think it was last week or the week before, probably last week on Tuesday. No, it was the week before that. So my first experience on an oval, I have to say it's a bit strange. Big G-force around Texas. So yeah, the banking is quite impressive. But the team did a great job to bring me into it and give me the confidence to learn and go up to speed. But I think the race with 27 cars on track is going to be another level. You know, you're always going to be in between traffic and trying to make the most of it. It's also difficult with the PJ1 on the track to kind of get that opportunity to overtake. So we'll see. I don't know what to completely expect. I can imagine it's going to be busy, chaotic, maybe like last year, but just got to try my best and see what we can do.
All right, so what IndyCar driver are you most looking forward to competing with this season?
I think just because of the European history, maybe with Christian Lundgaard, just because obviously he's in a top team and he's a friend of mine coming from Europe. So, you know, to be able to compare and push him, obviously at the moment he is a little bit further ahead, but we'll see coming later on. Otherwise, you know, there's a lot of great guys in this series. I can think of, well, the whole grid is a tough one. It's a very, very tough one. We saw in St. Pete how compact it is, but obviously the XF1 guys like Marcus and Roman, it's cool to race against. And then your, should we say, hometown heroes of Will Power and Scott Dixon. Obviously, I know they're not from the US, but they're almost like homeboys now. So
that is true. So I got a few would you rathers here. Would you rather race Wayne tires in the dry or slids in the wet?
If there wasn't any damage on the car and we were playing like PlayStation, I would go slicks in the wet. But we have a responsibility not to crash these cars all the time. So for safety, I'm going to go rain in the dry. Yeah, I don't know what you'd lose more time doing, to be honest, because they both go slow.
Yep. So would you rather not practice and qualify on pole all the time, or practice and start last all the time?
Oh, I love qualifying, so I would take the poles. But then, you know, if you're losing out on the race strategies, sometimes you can wing it. But the races are too long that you probably need the practice. I don't know. It's a tough ask either way. But I think at least if you get some poles, that's not too bad. You're not guaranteed the win if you start last.
So, last one here. If you forgot your race shoes, would you rather wear flip-flops or dress shoes while driving?
Dress shoes.
Wow.
Yeah, solid on the feet.
That is true. That is true. All right. Thank you, Callum. That's all I got for you today. Ladies and gentlemen, Callum Ilott.